Today I'd like to talk about piston heads. We actually offer two piston heads, POM C and duralumin, and for the duralumin one we also have a brass weight kit. Which head to use and why? This issue might be a bit more complex than it might seem at first glance. The POM piston head is great because since it's light, it doesn't strain the gearbox. When we have, say, an M4 with a zinc gearbox and we're playing in colder weather, the lower weight of the piston works in our favor, because if the piston is heavy, it acts like a battering ram, making the gearbox significantly more prone to cracking. In that case, the POM head wins hands down because it doesn't strain the gearbox as much. The aluminum piston head, on the other hand, is suitable for DMRs, higher power, heavier BBs, longer barrels. I'll elaborate on that further. Nowadays it's very popular to have universal guns, one gun for everything, and just change the springs in it, and I completely understand that. It's logical. One weekend I go with 1.5 joules to a CQB arena, and the next weekend I'm blasting at 2.5 joules with 0.40 gram BBs. But that's exactly when a problem can arise with the aluminum piston head, which is better suited for that DMR and those heavier BBs. Why? As a DMR I won't have the slightest problem. The spring there is strong enough, and it flings that heavy piston forward fast enough so that the piston is actually fully in the forward position with the spring released before the gear wants to pick up the next shot. If I then put, say, an M110 spring from Gardner into a gun like that and went to play at 1.5 joules, then I could very easily experience PME, which is premature engagement, the premature engagement of the sector gear with the piston. This means the piston isn't quite in the forward position yet, the spring hasn't fully released, but the piston gear is already trying to pick it up for the next shot. It's because the piston is too heavy, and that weak spring can't move the piston fast enough to release it before the next shot. That's when the lower weight of the piston with the POM piston head works in our favor, because it's significantly lighter than the aluminum one, and the piston manages to release before the next shot. And that's a big advantage of our POM piston head because it's very durable, so there's no problem putting it in a gun even with a stronger spring like an M140 or M150 to get those 2.5, 2.8 or 3 joules. Because our piston head can take it. It's not machined, you see, it's injection molded. And besides, POM C is a really high quality strong plastic. We'll put a photo here. The piston head actually has these ribs on the back that help transfer the impact from the stop through the head and into the piston, so the piston head doesn't crack. It's important to mention that you need to use cylinder head bumpers that have a flat face. Not some cylinder heads that have an O-ring as a bumper, because that actually puts pressure only on the edge of the piston head, and of course that edge will then break. We need a cylinder head with a bumper that can actually transfer that force through the center of the piston head, like our cylinder head bumpers, for example. So if you use our cylinder heads and our bumpers, there's no problem at all. If not, please pay attention to where that force is being transferred. Why don't we just use the POM piston head then, if it's universal? It is universal, which is great, but we still get better results at higher power levels with an aluminum piston head or even with a weight kit, which is actually designed specifically for our piston head, where that one ring fits directly into the piston head. Again, we'll show a photo, possibly for other piston heads too, where we can only use the weight kit instead of the bearing flange. We can add some extra grams there. It's especially useful for longer barrels or heavier BBs, where we can achieve better numbers because as the piston head moves slower, the pressure in the air system doesn't increase extremely much. Which means the pressure around the BB doesn't escape as quickly because the pressure isn't as high. Or rather, thanks to that slower piston, I distribute the energy more evenly into the longer barrel, and because of that, I achieve better results. Again, you can't give a universal formula here. Like, use this kit here with this piston head. Just use the ring and you'll have the most amazing performance. No, it's all about barrel diameter, BB diameter, bookings, seals, the nozzle. There really are a lot of variables and you'll have to try it out. So if I were to really simplify it in the end, you have a basic gun with a basic gearbox and you want to tune it for lower power, always use a POM head. You have a purebred DMR that you're running at exactly 23 joules, 2.5 joules or higher, use an aluminum piston head and consider using the weight kit as well. If you're running something in between, use a POM piston head instead because you won't have a problem, or there's a much smaller chance you'll have a problem with PME. But if you don't want to use it, use an aluminum one, but watch out for PME, which is caused precisely by the speed of the cycle. So the solution could be slowing down the rate of fire, slower gears, a slower motor, or a weaker battery. So for higher power at 2.5 joules, I run an 11.1, but then when I run 1.7 or 1.5 joules, I use a 7.4 instead of the 11.1. I hope I haven't confused you too much with all this. The issue really isn't completely simple, but I hope most of you understood it. And if not, don't be afraid to give us a call. We'll be happy to help you choose a piston head for your specific build.